Also, if I sound dull, I'm a little bit sick. So I mean, if you listen to some other podcast, I mean, of mine, and if you think my
No,
voice is different,
I
it's
can
because of
understand.
that.
I mean, even I haven't been well for the past 15 days. It's more to do with the kind of weather. You're in
Yeah.
Bangalore right now?
No, I'm in Mumbai currently.
Okay. And so Calcutta, it's getting cold and then it's getting,
Hmm.
a little choppy. So I
Makes
was
sense.
pretty unwell as well. So I think I can completely get you.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we are rolling. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another podcast. This time on the podcast we have Abadur, the founder of FintApp. So this podcast we have this ritual, right? So in which we ask the guests to introduce themselves because I'm typically bad with introductions and I mess up usually. So who is Abadur? What does he do? And what is he building?
So don't want to start from the beginning. So I'll just say, I am a dreamer. I will put it like that, and a
Hmm.
lifelong learner. That's how I define myself, and an avid biker. So
Hmm.
we'll just put it to you. I started my career in the first year of college, building
Hmm.
an agency which is into experiential marketing. It still runs, but it's not run by me
Hmm.
anymore.
Hmm.
And we worked with multiple clients over the years, pan India, Epson, Airtel, just to name a few to you. uh, I did my biomedical engineering, and even after my engineering, I continued doing, events across India. And it's only when COVID hit us is when, I kind of realized I want to do something more bigger, something that kind of reaches out to more people. It was kind of getting monotonous. It was back then I lost a lot of weight, and
Hmm.
maybe uh, a lot of thought came in what am I doing with my life? Am I actually kind of moving in the right direction? And then I wanted to look into the world of startups, how they function. So I kind of joined Tagmango, which is a
Hmm.
YC-backed startup. I worked there alongside my current uh, uh, co-founder Jatin. That's where I met him, uh, and that's why we both of us decided, we want to do something different. We want to build a platform. Initially, we wanted to build something like FamPay, a
Hmm.
better version of it, right? Sorry,
Hmm.
FamPay, you're doing a great job, but
Yeah.
we wanted to build a better version of it, right? But we realized that this isn't sustainable. It has very high infrastructure cost, and we necessarily did not want to build something that was of a
Hmm.
very high infrastructure cost, because we wanted to build it out of our own money, right?
Hmm.
We built it, but we did not launch the product. That's when we
Interesting.
decided to kind of shift from uh, PPIs, prepaid payment
Hmm.
instruments, to a kind of digital gold. And we kind of
Hmm.
launched that product in January 2023. And then we launched the current product that we have, which is rewards on UPI, and the
Hmm.
rewards are in the format of digital gold. And we launched this one in July 2023, and we've been able to see a lot of users, which are organic, and we are building on this, and we're building rewards on UPI. So we're looking at different angles of on how rewards can be created on UPI. The one that we are currently built is pretty simple. You kind of buy gift cards from us, and you get rewarded in the format of digital gold. But the
Hmm.
transactions can only happen using UPI. So you can't, pay using a debit card or a credit card or net banking. We specifically don't want you to do that, and we want it to be
Interesting.
limited to people who are kind of using UPI. And for
Hmm.
them, there's a large chunk of college students who don't have access to those extra rewards that a credit card holder
Hmm.
gets, or a good debit card. I mean, a young college
Yeah.
student might not have that powerful debit card, right? With a lot of minimum balance requirements. So we're building
Hmm.
that space, and we've seen growth, good traction. So that's who I am. So a dreamer. I'm still dreaming,
Hmm.
still learning, and still
Interesting.
riding my bike. So,
That's it.
so I think still doing those. I mean, that's who I am. So that's. I think I'm bad at introductions as well. So
That's fair. Do you actually do like bike road trips? Like, is that something that you engage in?
uh, no, I don't do bike
Interesting.
long road trips. I just do them for a small. I do
Yeah.
I do like doing long car road trips. I did one in, I think, November.
Mm-hmm.
We did about 2,100 kilometers in about 4 or 5 days, and I
Interesting.
have a baby, so she is like
Mm-hmm.
she was like what, 14 months old then,
Mm-hmm.
and we were doing it with her. So I mean, that was a cool experience. Uh,
Very interesting.
2,100 kilometers in like 4 5 days. That's what we did. So
Where
I
all did you go
liked
to?
it. I could
Where
get
all
you.
did you go to? Where all did you go to? 2100 kilometers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm asking like
So I think I
what? Yeah.
think I think I'll just explain. So we left Calcutta. We reached Puri on the first day. We went to
Hmm.
Bhubaneswar. We
Yeah.
left Bhubaneswar. We went to Visakhapatnam. We left
Hmm.
Visakhapatnam. We went to Araku Valley. We had some great coffee at the Araku Valley, and then we
Hmm.
came back to Visakhapatnam, back to Bhubaneswar, and then back to Calcutta. So
That's
that was,
interesting.
this happened over a period, decided over a couple of days. We're doing this, so we kind of
Hmm.
gone ahead and done that. So,
Interesting. Are you more of a coffee person by any chance?
no, more of a tea person. I have my cup of
Interesting.
tea, but I've started liking coffee now. So my wife is more of a coffee person, and she's brewing all these, has these ideas of doing it differently, and
Yeah.
I'm the one who's brewing them now. So I'm kind of getting into that. So.
The idea to be like the way to be like a proper coffee enthusiast, at least that's how I became one. You just buy a French press. Like that's all you need. Like in
Uh,
order to get engrossed
so,
in
so
coffee, and
I'll
then
tell you
eventually you can upgrade.
so how it happened with us was
Hmm.
my wife used to see these nice Nespresso machine in Korean dramas, and she used to say these look
Yeah,
so nice. They look it good in the house, And
for
we
sure.
went to Singapore, and she's like, let's buy one. So we just kind
Hmm.
of bought a Nespresso. There's this World 2, the thing that spins, and it's more
Yeah.
like a gimmick, but that's where I kind of started getting into coffee, and then we got a small espresso machine, and then
Hmm.
we get this AeroPress. So
Oh
now
yeah.
we just thinking, how do we kind of. Then my brother went to Ethiopia. We were like, don't get us anything, just get us some coffee.
That's great because the thing with like every different coffee brewing machines is right you get very different coffee. Like if you brew once
So
in a French press, next you brew in an Aeropress, you I mean those two are coffees only,
obviously,
but the way they compare is very different. Like a French press is more of like a raw, a more rich sort of
correct,
flavor, and whereas if you go for let's say an Aeropress, it's more, I would say
correct.
textury, but it lathers a little bit. That's what I've noticed.
Glasses a little bit. I think
Yeah.
a lot of depends on the technique also you're using.
Hmm.
So there's a barista champion by the call of James Hoffman, right?
Yeah.
He's a
Yeah.
barista champion.
Yeah. I
So
know what you're
so
talking about.
he uses the AeroPress a little differently. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's how much quantity of water to what you're
Mm-hmm.
doing, and how much are you stirring. So even in AeroPress, I think on the same machine or the same mechanism also, you can
Mm-hmm.
have varying tastes, right?
Makes
And
sense.
it is if you're let's say for example the temperature of your uh,
No, mug, yeah.
you know the temperature
Mm-hmm.
is controlled in a coffee in a cafeteria, right? But for us in
Mm-hmm.
home, we're generally using an electric kettle which doesn't have
Makes sense.
temperature control, and we're just trying to gauge from understanding, okay, it'll be 80 degrees now, and you're
Makes
not
sense.
at 80, you are at 90. It'll kind of vary. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more like life. It just gets a
For
little
sure.
different each time.
Yeah, the temperature thing is actually true, right? Because earlier, in order to make cappuccino, you have to make sure like the make temperature is around 70.
Correct,
Anything
yes.
anything over or below that, it just ruins. I mean, it doesn't ruin it, but you won't get cappuccino. It'll be something weird. Because finally
It's like
cappuccino.
it's just a developed taste that understands that
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of, but it's also very interesting to understand that coffee is the most unregulated drug available
Yeah.
across the world. I think Matthew Walker in his book uh,
Mm-hmm.
Why We Sleep. There's a book by Matthew Walker. He's actually studied sleep over a period of 20 30 years, and he talks
Mm-hmm.
about how unregulated coffee is, and how easy is it to access. But still a drug, if you look at it. If you look at caffeine and
Mm-hmm.
how it actually works in your body. So it's very interesting to understand that as well. People have started liking it, but
Interesting.
we
Why,
we
why do you
don't
think
see.
is that? Why is coffee so unregulated? Because I believe when it boomed, it was in the industrial revolution where they just gave the mill workers some coffee and in like an afternoon break, and their productivity like doubled.
Unregulated in sense it's occurring naturally, right? So I
Hmm.
think if
Interesting.
it's occurring naturally and there is no not too much of changes in it, right? Obviously we're
Hmm.
not if, cur- changing something to have higher caffeine amounts, we aren't, so it's naturally available. I think that's the prime reason that's been unregulated, and there's a prime reason things will keep until unless it starts harming your body like other you know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, drugs do, then so if even if you take a lot of caffeine, you are harming your body in ways that you're not
For sure.
understanding. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
very long term repercussions of having too much of caffeine, and we don't have too much of studies also just showing how much repercussions would it cause. But
Makes sense.
it also occurs naturally, so you
Mm-hmm.
can't regulate it as much.
No, that's true, right? Because I recently, I mean, not recently, it's been a while since I watched the Huberman video on coffee. And he says that every time you wake up, you at least wait for 90 minutes and then you take coffee. And if then you see the difference as to how it works on your body. And it does work like a charm. Because if you, at least with me, what used to happen was I used to drink coffee as soon as I woke up, like
Mm.
a couple of minutes later and whatnot. But I used to get groggy eventually, like in like 30 45 minutes. I used to get groggy eventually. But when I tried the Huberman method, like you just wait for 1.5 hours and
Mm.
then you drink coffee after eating something. It works like a charm. And I think the way for anybody to maximize productivity is to like sort of assort various time slots in which you consume caffeine. Because like a regular intake of caffeine, I think it'll just boost productivity. That's what at least I've noticed. That's how I studied for exams. Is that
Okay.
okay?
But I
Let's
think caffeine's been a little different for me. I think,
interesting.
it's not been, uh, I'd end up actually sleeping after taking it. I don't know why, for what
How?
reason, why it happens to me. It has happened to me at multiple point of times in my life. I have no answer to it. I mean, we're just too tired, or, uh,
Mm-hmm.
the caffeine content might be too low. I don't know.
You should try
But
Turkish coffee. Turkish coffee will never let you sleep. Like that's one thing you should
okay,
try. That's fun. Okay,
definitely.
we went on a rant on coffee. Let's let's jump back to let's talk about your event management thing, right? Because I browsed your LinkedIn and I figured you have, I believe, 8 years of event management experience. Talk me through
Yeah.
that. How is it
So
like managing
that
events with brands?
I think I can call event management. I just have one word for it. It's structured
Hmm.
chaos.
Interesting. Hmm.
Everything's going to be chaotic till the event happens. Then it's going to get over, and everything's going to be fine. So
Yeah.
I'll just wrap it to you. I was into a lot into extracurricular activities when I was in school. So I was representing
Hmm.
school here, there. So I kind of made friends with all the organizers who were doing these events, right? When I got into college, I told them, I just wanted some quick cash for myself. I just
Hmm.
wanted to be, let's have some money, and I can buy something for myself. My wife was my girlfriend, so buy something for her as well. So,
Hmm.
that was the reason, the motivation to kind of start doing small events, and start doing it in Calcutta. Uh,
Hmm.
it kind of worked. I had a good team of, because they were friends. So the
Hmm.
company actually began, uh, five of us, six of us sleeping together at night in my home. So we
Hmm.
used to sleep at night together. Say tomorrow is an event we're doing, is basically I was doing more of school activations. So we used to go to
Interesting.
schools, do
Hmm.
small events in schools. So for a particular brand, so a brand has
Yeah.
to do those events in, let's say, 100 schools, right? So we used to do it in 100 schools every day. We used to go to a couple of schools, do the event, and come back with the material.
Hmm.
So these were small events that we were doing initially. So we were like four, five school friends who were like sleeping in the same room. This room was the room only where we used to sleep, all of
Hmm.
us. And we used to get up in the morning. Then we used to kind of do all the activities, and everybody used to go back to their house, and then come back at night again to understand which
Yeah.
schools we have tomorrow. And it was more of an all-nighter. So we were awake like 3, 4 in the morning,
Hmm.
having fun, and then we were getting up and start going and working. And these were like, all of them are now at very good places. I mean, they're
Hmm.
doing great in life. So it was real fun, and I think the reason why it kind of boomed for me and worked out for me was my friends were actually pushing for it. They were like, they didn't want to get into a career like this, but they thought, I could get into something like this, and just let's help him out. Even we are making money,
Hmm.
he's making money, and we were making money, like, which was like kind of, we were paying ourselves like equal. So we were like more like, friends, and the company
Hmm.
was mine, and but more of friends. But once we were out of college, I still, I got in touch with a lot of corporates.
Hmm.
They liked my work, and that's how I started working pan India for a Japanese printer and projector brand called Epson. So I've
Hmm.
done pan India activations from them, from from Kashmir to Nagaland, you name
Hmm.
it. Uh, we have done activations for them on ground. So I specify in doing on ground activations. So that's kind of what
Interesting.
got me into event management. A group of friends, some chai, some gossip, and
Mm-hmm.
the desire to make some money. I think I will not personally. I want to make an impact, or I wanted to do this. No,
Hmm.
no, that was not the objective. The clear objective was to make an impact on my
Yeah.
wallet, right? And and
Makes sense.
I,
Yeah.
and I think that kind of happened, and I liked the process.
Mm-hmm.
But let me, tell you that it is chaotic. It's still
Mm-hmm.
a lot chaotic. The event management industry is very chaotic, because we kind of work with a lot of people who are unskilled, who are doing it for the first time. They aren't, some are professionals, some aren't, right?
Yeah.
And you are working with people who are, let's say for example, flex is put on a board,
Hmm.
right? So these are
Yeah.
laborers. They don't understand your timelines and your deadlines. If you don't treat them
Hmm.
right, uh,
They won't do. Yeah.
you aren't the boss, they are the boss, right?
Makes
They can
sense.
move out at
Makes
any
sense.
point of time and you'll be left helpless. So I've seen myself actually, putting up flex because the labor kind of ran away. And as an event manager
Mm-hmm.
you end up becoming doing trying to do everything, right? and
Yeah.
and that's kind of helped me, you know as a person, you know, because I don't take anything to be too small for me, or I cannot do this. This is assigned to my junior, or I can't do that, and this is assigned to that. That kind of doesn't creep in my mind, and that's one thing that I think event management, or the marketing industry has taught me to be pretty humble, and that's one thing that I take away from my event management career. I think it's a big up for me.
That's very interesting. How are corporate events like in general, though? Like they seem very sophisticated from the periphery. What
Okay.
goes around?
So a lot of things go wrong. I mean, and there's a saying in this industry. If there is, sorry for me to be using this F word. If there isn't a fuck up,
It's
there isn't
fine.
an event, right? So
Hmm.
if you don't have a fuck up, your event has not happened. If the event
Hmm.
has happened without a fuck up, the fuck up is gonna come later, right?
Interesting.
So
Hmm.
actually, it happened with me, right? So we had this event, everything went well. There was a corporate event where the dealers had come,
Hmm.
to play a one-day cricket match. So all the dealers get together. Basically, the
Interesting.
corporate pays the entire money for the matches to happen, all the food, all
Hmm.
the arrangements and everything, right? So everybody's had food, everybody's gone. I was standing there. Somebody goes home and kind of, and everything gone according to plan, right? And my junior kind of tells him, "अरे आज तो कुछ भी गलत नहीं हुआ." I said, "नहीं हुआ पता नहीं. Let's see what happens tomorrow." ठीक है. So next morning I get a call from my client saying, somebody, a couple of people were complaining the food was stale. I said, why were they eating it? Even if it was
Yeah.
stale,
Makes sense.
why didn't they tell me there? I was standing right there in front of everybody's eyes. They knew I was the guy who was I. Why would I do it? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
no, this is not right. That is not right. So I called up my junior, said, see, this has happened.
Oh
It's
yeah.
come back. So
Makes sense.
now the event's kind of complete. So
Mm-hmm.
what it has happened, now the event's complete. A fuck up has happened. Now the event's kind of complete. So, and every lot of things go wrong. I mean, and clients are prepared for it to be going wrong because there are multiple
Hmm.
things happening, right? And something or the other will go wrong, and a lot of corporate
Sure.
clients understand this. They understand it, that everything will not fall on according to plan. There are big fuck ups in big planned events, right?
Yeah.
Big planned events, right? Things start going wrong. There's technical glitch, mics
Mm-hmm.
not working, and I'm saying big events. Coldplay happened in India. I was there. There was some glitch,
Mm-hmm.
so it's okay. I mean, everybody kind of takes it in their stride. They understand these things like these do happen, and it's okay. But certain clients will not understand.
Yeah.
So you can't help it but just say sorry. So as an event manager, sorry is also a word that you easily have at your hand, at your disposal. I'm really sorry
Hmm.
this happened. Let me correct it, and then you go and correct it. I think they look sophisticated, but trust
Mm-hmm.
me, on the background, it's chaotic until it's over. So I mean,
That's true. Because we're hosting an event soon, right? And we were looking for a bunch of venues, and
yeah,
because of a budget, we had a lot of options. So we are going to various hotels and figuring out if this event would be right there. And then like almost every hotel that rejected us first said yes. And in the 3 days time, they're like, okay, we have a wedding offer. So we are like, bye, we are not letting you do the event. And that's like with pan 5 stars, because that's
Yeah.
what I've seen. And with this, from what I've heard from, so we've had a hospitality agency sort of a thing, right? Because what we have heard is the 5 stars do not really care once you have paid the money, and they just give you the venue, and that's all. उधर से ही सब करना रहता है. And that's when we figured like hiring like a hospitality agency is worth it, because with that you have everything sorted. At least from the periphery, all
Correct.
the basics
Correct.
are sorted. And
Correct.
that's just like a new business that has kind of popped up. Like an event management company sort of hires a hospitality company in order to make things right in the hotel. At least that's what I've seen
Correct.
in the past few
I
weeks.
think I've not worked too much on weddings. That's a different, industry altogether. So corporates, they have an idea of the money that you're charging, right?
Hmm.
In wedding, things are a little haywire because the person who is getting wed is doing it for their first and last time.
For
They
sure.
have zero idea,
Sure.
right? And that is where your markups come. So you can sell a 10 rupee pen for 100 rupees because you're just selling it for them for the first and the last
One
time.
time. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, right. So it's a very difficult industry, and I'm not a person who can do this. And in a situation like this, what happens is if you're giving a lower quote, people start believing you're going to give them lower quality,
Hmm.
right?
Makes sense.
In
That's
weddings
true.
specifically, where a lot of
Like
people are
high
involved
profile
in the
weddings at least.
decision. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Normal weddings also, people start thinking,
Mm-hmm.
"Arey, somebody
Itna
else
sasta
told me
kaise?
15,000 rupees, he's telling me 5,000 rupees. Wow, how is it possible?" And
Mm-hmm.
then the other guy tells him he's going to use low quality stuff. So,
Yeah.
he's killing the competition also. So I'm not been into that, but I have, helped a couple of people, do weddings at
Mm-hmm.
five-star hotels. Five-star hotels do kind of tend to, work with you. And I think they don't do it, purposely that, once the money comes in, going to help out. They just have too much on their plate,
Makes sense.
and then
Makes
they're
sense.
like, okay, you are on your own. We've given you the space. The food will be available.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do what you want to. So they kind of just leave it to their now chef and the people who are going to serve the food. It's on your court right now. We are going to do something
Mm-hmm.
other than
Yeah.
this. So that's how it
That's
kind
true.
of works. It's a corporate at the end of the day. A
Mm-hmm.
five-star hotel works like a corporate hotel at the end.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay, so let's get to your Wake Fit sleep internship.
Oh,
What was it like? What is it about? Is
oh,
it what it sounds like? Like
yeah,
what is
110%. It's fun. It's fun.
you
It
got
was an
paid to
experience.
sleep?
Yeah, I got about 1 lakh rupees. I got a Fitbit. I got a mattress.
Interesting.
I got featured in a video. I think it's on YouTube as well. You can see me. I was the finalist. So
Interesting.
there are people from Bombay who came with a script, shot it for 2 days with me, and then shot it with the other finalists and made that entire video.
Yeah.
One crazy experience, I just randomly was going through LinkedIn. I see this, you get paid to sleep. I said, yeah, let's apply. Then
Mm-hmm.
they say, your initial application is fine. You have to upload a video,
Yeah.
1 minute or 2 minute video, saying why you should be getting it. And I was reading Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker back then only.
Yeah.
Before I got, I was interested in understanding sleep. I still sleep very good. Uh,
Hmm.
uh, uh, so so I was, into it. So I made a good video. They said the video got selected. We'll get you for an interview round.
Hmm.
So I prepared for my interview round. It's a virtual interview. I was in my sleep suit. So I was in the sleep
Okay.
suit, and these two
Huh.
people turn up, and they're like, and I switched on the camera, and they're sleeping, and they're like, "Arey," I said, "This is," well, no. So there were two women who came. They're saying, "You bluffing? You're wearing jeans under your
Yeah, and then
under
night
your
suit
sleeve,
top. Yeah.
upper right." And no, I'm wearing my lowers as well. So I got up, showed them my lowers, and they were like pretty excited that this banda is, full on prepared to come and sleep. So I kind of got selected for the to be the top 12 in India who would sleep for the next 100 years, 100
100
days,
years.
and their
Yeah.
sleep would be recorded on a Fitbit, and there are backend data that would update, and they would rate it according to their understanding of, they would not work on the Fitbit data. They would take multiple data points and give you So from that came the top four. I think I was number two. But then we had a 1 day sleep off where, the day
Hmm.
they were recording, they set up a night vision camera in my room also. The day they were
Hmm.
recording the actual sleep, like the day that sleep was the day. There was just 1 day you had to sleep. You got into the top four, and then who slept that best that day, the day the recording happened, was the winner. So Triparna happens to be in the same state. She kind of
Hmm.
won that, and she I think won 5 lakh rupees because see the idea was you can win up to 10 lakh rupees.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
So if your sleep scores 91, you get 1
Hmm.
lakh. If it's 92, you get 2 lakhs. If it's 93, you get 3 lakhs. If it's 94, you get 4 lakhs. I think mine was 93 or 94. Triparna's was 95. So,
Interesting.
so I think Triparna won it and she got the money as well. I got the 1 lakh rupees. So 1 lakh rupees, all the top 12 people got, right?
Ah,
Uh,
interesting.
Post tax, it was 70,000 rupees.
Yeah. Hmm.
So thanks to the government for taking 30,000 rupees of gift in
Yeah.
taxes. And I think we got a mattress,
Hmm.
which was brand new. We got a Fitbit that's we are allowed to keep it. We have it as well. So that was the extra perks and bonuses that we were got. And we had to do nothing literally. There was a fun
Yeah,
call
just
every
sleep.
Saturday.
Hmm.
Yeah, sleep, and there was a fun small call every Saturday or Sunday happening where just understand your
Like
learnings,
feedback.
what do you,
Yeah.
what do you feel and all of that. Like
That's
and
very interesting. What did you
so
learn about sleep then? Because your sleep was kind of being recorded, and you're obliged to sleep well
so
in
I
the in the,
think
in the
I
100 days.
it was happening during a very a crucial stage in my life. I was actually getting so my sleep was actually being recorded during the time I was be getting ready to I was building Fint, starting to build Fint. I was going to get
Ah.
married, so it was during a very hectic period of time that this kind of happened. But still, it was what I understand about sleep, and I still do it is I don't. I tell my wife to sleep. For me, she wakes up at 10 and she's groggy. I say, go back. I would recommend you to sleep as well. I think, you know,
Hmm.
that's I think all of us can earn money and all of us can do a lot of things as well. But
Hmm.
it cannot come at a compromise of your well-being.
Hmm.
And sleep is primarily well-being, right? I mean, a lot of people don't think about it too much, but sleep is
Hmm.
as important as staying awake and doing something else. I mean, and I think the alarm is the worst invention you could ever have because you're
Interesting.
actually kind of uh, opening
Shocking
yourself
the
up
body.
and shocking the body. Why? I'll tell you. Because sleep cycle happens a little differently than you're understanding, right? So one cycle ends, the second cycle starts, right?
Hmm.
And the third cycle starts. So over a period of time, the cycles it'll be like a symphony in the brain that's happening. Your
Hmm.
hypothalamus closes. So even if you are running uh, in the dream, but you're not running because your
Yeah.
hypothalamus is closed, right?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
closed all communication with the brain to the body, right? But the
Hmm.
brain's still working, so everything happens in slow motion in the brain, right? So the time is kind of extended. That is why you sleep and you think it's just 10 minutes has gone by, and
Hmm.
but you slept for hours, right? So time works a little differently when you sleep, and
Hmm.
things start to work a little differently. So cycle, right? So at the peak of your
Hmm.
cycle, in if you wake up, it's kind of going to come to the shock to your body and still starting to feel like groggy because you were at a peak of your cycle where you have maximum sleep hormones in your body and you kind of wake up. And
Hmm.
that is why when you say no, I have to wait 30 minutes is when you actually want to get into that zone of
Yeah.
not
Waking up.
feeling sleepy and
Hmm.
those sleep hormones to move away, and then you have your coffee. Because if you
Makes sense.
drink it as soon as you wake up, right, what happens is the caffeine attaches to the hormones that are already present, the ones who are
Hmm.
not naturally subside down, right?
Hmm.
And then you will feel awake, and then you will start feeling a little groggy because the natural substitution has happened now. So these
Yeah.
hormones would naturally subside, but you have forcefully subsided them.
Makes sense. I think it's something to do with like, I think this is a 1.5 hour sleep cycle, and every like 1.5
Yeah,
hours it sort of resets. And if
correct.
you time the alarm properly, then it makes sense. Otherwise, it's
Yeah.
just haywire.
Correct.
I,
It's
I,
the
I'm
same.
I'm still confused if it's 1.5 or 3. I might have to
I
check. I
think
believe it's one.
it depends. It still depends a lot of, and
Mm-hmm.
there was a very interesting point in that book. Matthew Walker has studied sleep, and he's a sleep scientist for a lot of, sleep coach for big uh, athletes, right? So
Yeah.
he says that some people naturally, and it is fine. And he says it isn't people who get up early in the morning. The early bird catches the worm is a wrong saying. And he
Yeah.
goes and says that, as tribes, right? The general evolution of people as tribes, a tribe used to sleep early, and that people in that same tribe used to keep awake to look after the tribe.
Yeah.
So if you look at the natural evolution, some people will sleep early, some people will sleep late because as predecessors, some of our predecessors were sleeping late. So if a
Mm-hmm.
person sleeps at 4 a.m. in the morning and wakes up at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, if he has his 8 hours of sleep or 10 hours of sleep, it's perfectly fine. It doesn't have to be at 10 p.m. for him. For
Makes
him,
sense.
the body is working a little differently. So there are a lot of multiple, uh, uh, experiments that he's done, which kind of proves that you need hours of sleep rather than and if
Like a time
you're
slot.
so yeah, I will take a time slot, right? So I generally sleep at say 2 a.m. at night, right, and I wake up at
Mm.
10 a.m. in the morning. That's kind of my sleep cycle. You wake me up at 6 a.m. in the morning, that's going to just it's either going to be very productive or it's going to be just screwed up completely,
Makes sense. Because
right?
what I've noticed with myself as well, because I was nocturnal for I believe over like a year or something, because
Mhm.
it was when I was in 11th grade. This is like how many years? Two years ago around, and everything was shut down back then because of COVID, and there was no reason for me to wake up early. And I was like, okay, let's try being nocturnal. It's very peaceful. That's what I've realized. Being nocturnal for a year, that just showed me how things are so quiet at night and you can get so much done. Whereas in the morning, it's just like too much noise, stuff like that. I would prefer the nocturnal side, but now because of college and whatnot, I have to sort of
Mhm.
make sure I wake up
Yeah,
early. Even this side is a little bit more productive because you sort of have like a head start
correct.
when you're on
You
a
do.
schedule, because you just wake up earlier than other
You
folks
do.
and you can prepare more while
I
the
I
others are
think
asleep.
I think the problem is kind of if you wake up at say about 12 in the
Mm.
noon, you have your colleagues who are up. So from a
Mm.
work perspective, this is a problem that happens.
Yeah.
If you're working remotely, it's okay. But if you're
Mm.
working in an office, if there's an office environment, things start to go wrong from the perspective of other people, like, because you're not alone. You're not the only one who's kind of at doing something. But I
Mm.
think we should stop judging people if they don't wake up early. I'm not saying that because I sleep late
Mm.
or I wake up a little late. Well, it's okay, it's natural. If that fine person gets his part of the work done and
Mm.
his sleep comes in around that time, he's feeling more peaceful that point
Makes
of
sense.
time, he's feeling a little happier and he's not being cranky. I think that's his time and his or her time. I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. Specifically
Mm.
parents, we've been taught this is how it works. You wake up in the morning, you will feel a little fresh. Not necessarily, and this is where
Yeah.
it goes a lot wrong for a lot of people. So I think
Makes sense.
it's just
Because
personal
we did this in Servizi, right? So when we were building Servizi back then, we were like five people, and two were in the tech side, and the other guy was doing marketing, doing calls,
preferences.
getting people on board and whatnot. And we did all the tech guys. We were two tech, and like we had another, like, I won't say junior, but he didn't really code as much. He used to be more on the design end, more on the webflow end, like building like very specific solutions here and there.
Correct.
All the tech folks were awake till 7 in the morning. We started work at like around 10 at night, and we
Mm.
were we were working till like 7 in the morning, and then we just went to bed. And our marketing guy, our call guy, his name is Vanch. So he used to make calls in the morning, and when we all woke up sort of near the early afternoon side, we're like, okay, update us about what all you did. And when there's a symphony between, you know sleep cycles, your company never really sleeps, because there's
Correct.
always someone. And that's what we realized in, like, about customer service, right? Because we were using a couple of tools back then, B2B tools. And I would say that, like, the only reason we bought the tools was because the customer support was great, else we wouldn't have. There's no reason for me to spend $50 a month for a tool which doesn't have good customer service. And we were like, let's sort of make this into our product as well. And our company never slept, and we used to attend all customer calls, and that's where like we gained a bunch of user interaction back then. That's what I've realized. I think
I
that's
think
that.
with what we are doing right now, I think the run's the same. I mean, my co-founder is awake till late in the night, and I'm kind of waking up when he's just I have these messages at 4-5 a.m. in the morning, and I'm waking up to them and saying this is needs to be done. Then I get up and start doing it. So I kind of connect to the point that you've made.
That's true. Okay, let's talk about hackathons, right? Because I'm currently entering a couple of hackathons. Because once you enter college in India, like that's the only like serious event that you can sort of be a part of, like hackathons. If you're like a comms guy. So talk me through your experiences about in
I think
hackathons. Let's talk about the
I think
APAC. Yeah.
my co-founder can give you more insights because he's a two-time Smart India Hackathon winner as well. He has these ideas, he puts them forward, and you know, so we kind of thought of why don't we get into some other hackathons which are not for college students only, can be for other. So we were searching through and we saw this crypto.com, and the primary reason why we did it was uh, with crypto.com, if you become the top 12, right, you get a free pass to the Singapore FinTech Festival, and both of us
Interesting.
wanted to go. So both of us wanted to be at the Singapore FinTech Festival, and to you able to be meet the investors, you have to buy that pass, which is worth 500 Singaporean dollars, which is roughly 35,000 rupees. So we were like, we just want the free pass, and we
Yeah.
just entered, with our idea of AI. There were multiple tracks that they had decided, you could have. So we did it in the learning section with AI and Web3. We just put it forward, and we didn't think about it too much. Then comes that you're selected for the hackathon. Then we had master classes with people at crypto.com. So the experience has been but I think the primary reason a lot of people uh, kind of miss out is we could have thought this is too difficult to do. I mean,
Yeah.
crypto.com is doing a Asia Pacific hackathon. People from Australia are coming in, people from other countries. I think we will not make it. I mean, self doubt is the reason. We actually wrote a ton of things uh, in our initial slide that we had to give them on what the idea we were developing. We wrote ton. I mean, I think we were looking back at it and we saying, oh dude, this looks like we are not even aiming for the stars. We're aiming for beyond the stars.
Yeah.
It's so difficult. But if you aren't aiming big and you're not trying to achieve that, people will rule you out. And if you're aiming big and not being able to, people will still like you because you're still aiming your aims too ambitious. I think that is what we got us into the hackathon. We devised a plan which was a little difficult because it had multiple aspects as well, right? And then that is what kind of got us into the hackathon and got us into the top 12, gave us the ability to present at the Singapore Management University, and meet fellow entrepreneurs as well. So I think hackathons are fun. I think you should obviously, since you're in first year of college, now you have the opportunity to do ton. There is one that
Yeah.
happens in collaboration with the government of India
I was a
and the
part of it.
Singapore,
Yeah.
yeah,
The
Singapore
SIH, right?
FinTech Festival, right?
Oh no, I was talking about SIH, but yeah. Okay.
SIH, Jatin, my co-founder, is a winner
Yeah.
twice. So he's won it once in hardware and once in software.
Interesting.
So with Singapore, the one that we did together, I think there's another one that the government does in collaboration with the government of Singapore. And if you are a participant of that, you still get a pass for the Singapore FinTech Festival, which is the biggest FinTech festival in the world. So it is our goal, we want to go out. We don't come from the pedigree of an IIT or IIM, right? We are aware of that. And we want to create our network, right?
Yeah.
So with a more premium school, you get a better network. Kind of don't get that, so we want to build our network. And I think reaching out to more people, meeting them physically, that will kind of just grow over a period of time, and then that eventually leads to kind of getting invested by them. I mean, it's a
Makes sense.
long-term relationship. People say it's happened overnight. It does nothing happens overnight. An investment also doesn't happen overnight. Somewhere or the other, there is a long-standing relationship between that person who's pitching and the person is known to the VC. Accelerators work a little differently.
Yeah.
VCs work a little differently, or they come through somebody who knows. I mean, I'm not saying it works in the method of references, but they do have some idea of the founder, right? And
Makes sense.
that's what we are kind of building now, so that we can reap the rewards of what we're building today.
That's very interesting because this is like an idea that I had recently, right? Uh, we kind of did our MVP, I mean a pre-MVP thingy recently, and we didn't get a lot of results. We're sort of trying to pivot. So the idea was simply like a platform, a very invite-only platform for founders, to help VC scout, right? Like very only
Okay.
specific founders are sort of allowed. You sort of get an invite, and then you're like something like Clubhouse, and then VCs are already onboarded, and that's
Okay.
something that can help them scout. So we had like a toy version of it. Like we started with email because that's the
Correct.
easiest way, and every VC opens their email like 20 times a day any which way. So
Correct.
we did that. So it's called RaiseGate. So we had like a memo that went out every week about like very interesting startups that are on. And surprisingly, we didn't get a lot of results from that. I really don't know why, but I think this it can be a very good tool for founders who don't have pedigree, sort of get noticed with investors. But what's your general take on this? Like at least from the get go, after hearing this, do you think this is something that you might end up using or no?
Yeah, I think obviously if something is available, a tool is
Hmm.
available to a founder, he's going to use it every other way. He would try. I mean, as a founder, I think nobody
Hmm.
would stop. I mean, nobody should stop in the first place as well. Nobody would stop, in trying to use the tool looking at, or if
Hmm.
I could get investors from this tool only. I think it kind of uh, works, but I don't know whether it kind of work in an Indian scenario, whether
Hmm.
VC also wants a long-standing understanding of what the founder is, how the founder,
Yeah.
I think a more, once you're saying you're sending out interesting startups
Startup.
to
Yeah.
VCs.
Let's.
I
Yeah.
think what's
Hmm.
going to work is if you are sending out interesting updates on that same thing,
Yeah,
right? So
exactly. Yeah, I was
so
coming to that, right? So we were
uh,
doing something of like a raise gate model, right? So not raise gate, build space model. So
okay,
if you've been a
okay,
part of build
okay.
space by any chance?
Yeah. No,
Yeah, so
I've
what
heard
what
about
it
it.
is? Yeah, so it's like a 6 week program in which you have to push out a demo
Correct.
every week as to like what
Yes.
your product is all about, what's
Yes.
what's what's going on and whatnot. So we were doing something similar. So we were asking the founders to sort of push out a demo and send it to us, and we were embedding it in the email, so the VC can look at the demo, figure out if this is interesting, and then sort of go forward with it. This is what our like initial app idea was. Okay, fine, we'll build an app in which invite only founders come in, they push out demos every other week, let's say, and then VCs can sort of scout those on basis of the demos, and if they find them interesting, they can just connect with them. This is what I was thinking, but later on I realized that this is the same thing which founders do on Twitter. Like
Yeah.
currently the demo culture is very strong on Twitter. I think it's because of build space only,
Correct.
but that's that.
Correct.
So would let's say if you were given a chance, would you send out demos on an app which is invite only, which VCs would sort of look at?
Yeah. 100%. I think there is nothing to lose. I mean, if specifically in my case or in the fintech
Hmm.
industry, I think you won't see it to be as a problem. Other person can copy it or something will go wrong. It takes time to integrate with partners.
Hmm.
It's not let's get up, let's do it. It's not going to happen like that, right?
Hmm.
For a fintech space, it's okay. I mean, nobody's going to take away that. Nobody has an advantage of what you're sending out as a demo. I mean, a lot of people
Hmm.
think, a lot of people think, and that's a wrong thinking, that
Yeah.
if I send out a demo, it might get stolen. I think if you are not doing it correctly and somebody steals and does it, he's actually showing you, or she actually showing you the
Yeah.
path of how it should have been done in the first place.
Makes
So
sense.
I think that's not the way to put it. I think demos should be, and I frankly, from my personal opinion, I would be willing to put out demos on an application where VCs are scouting, or VCs are having a look, because if I reach out to that VC, in his mind, uh, I was there somewhere, right?
Hmm.
So I was there on a
Interesting.
platform which he checked out, right? And
Hmm.
so let's say we met somebody today, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I met you at the IMC, the Indian Mobile Congress. I met you at the booth. Oh, I know something about you. Tell me more
Hmm.
about this." So now that conversation has gone up from him understanding what we are to more of specifics. It'll
Makes
get
sense.
into more specifics in the next call. It'll get into more specifics in the next call, and then that kind of shows the resilience that a founder has. I mean, this guy is not going to give up, right? And that's when the money flows in. This guy is not a giving up guy. Let's fund him. Let's back him. Maybe he can make something big happen. Now
Makes
everything
sense.
works on data.
Yeah, because let's jump back to hackathons for a bit, right? Because this is I did a podcast with Naklesha. I don't know if you know him. He's like kind of big on Twitter. He's like a micro Twitter celebrity, and he builds
No,
stuff and
I
whatnot.
don't. But
You're not on
I'm
Twitter,
not.
right?
Yeah, and I'm not on Twitter.
Why? Let's start with the why. Not on Twitter.
So I'm more on LinkedIn. I try to,
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't take too much of social media. That's a personal, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
create so much of content. So I'm just limited to LinkedIn, where I'm, kind of posting my thoughts and
Mm-hmm.
my understandings. I do, see a lot of Twitter feeds and follow them,
Yeah.
but I am not active on Twitter because I think become too old for it. One thing. I don't know. I mean,
Really? How old are
just
you?
I, I just feel I'm in my 30s, so I just feel
Huh.
just started my 30s, so I'm feeling
It's,
kind of
it's
old
it's
now.
really, I think it's really just smarter link. It's just like a smarter LinkedIn version, if I'm being very honest.
Yeah, I
Because
think it is
you'll
modern
find a lot
LinkedIn.
of cliches on LinkedIn, and you'll not stop seeing cliches. Like some
Yeah,
very stupid chat GPT code about hard work. Like you'll end up seeing a couple of those every day, at least on LinkedIn. But
correct.
Twitter curates your feed in such a way that once you know your folks, once you follow the right folks, you'll not get shit. Like there's no way. That's what I've at
Correct.
least noticed because I recently started posting a little bit on LinkedIn, and I realized ki, okay, there's a lot of bullshit here. Whereas when I go on Twitter, there's really not. Like only the important folks are like sort of in the feed, and I think
Okay.
that's why you should at least try Twitter once,
It's okay.
so you'll
Okay.
sort of
I
see.
think the biggest takeaway from this podcast is me going and trying
Yeah,
Twitter more and
Twitter.
posting on Twitter. I think that's a good
Because the
idea.
thing with the only problem with Twitter is they have made messaging a little bit difficult. Because earlier on you could message anybody, but
Yes.
now they have introduced like the verified, and only if you're verified you can message everyone. That's what it is.
Okay.
There's like a
Okay.
setting which is set by default on every account that only verified folks can text you, or the folks who follow you basically, and you follow them. That's what it
Okay.
is. But now it's been sort of difficult to message people on Twitter. That's why I shift to LinkedIn, because once you have a connect on LinkedIn, you can message them endlessly, like at least.
Yes.
Everybody,
Yes.
and what I've noticed, everybody sort of spams connects, which which is not great, but like that's ideally how the LinkedIn
True.
system. At least I've seen
True.
that's how people sort of have
True. True.
500 plus connections. At least the
True.
people in the nascent stage of their careers, and messaging then becomes easier. I think that's why LinkedIn is better. But I've always been like a cold email guy, anyways. Like that's where I started, at least for the podcast. Like I've emailed everyone. Like
Okay.
you name the person, I've tried emailing them.
Yeah,
That's
I
that.
think it's a great way to go ahead. I mean, initially when we were to event management as well,
Hmm.
we were doing this bit artist management as well, right?
Hmm.
We were left right down center messaging Afrojack, Hard
Hmm.
Hardwell. We were messaging all these big names in the ADM
Hmm.
industry. Name it, David Guetta. I think we
Hmm.
mailed everybody. I mean, we've in fact gone ahead and quoted an amount for Afrojack. I mean, even we were not ready for the.
Interesting.
It was just in the head that we could do something like this. What is the amount? Let's figure it out. Nothing is too difficult to get, and
Yeah.
you can message and do everybody. In fact, half of the partners that we are doing working with, right? Uh, so my co-founder tells me, no way they're doing it for free. I say, if they don't do it for free, they won't do it. It's as simple
Yeah.
as that. We won't do
Hmm.
it. We'll do somebody else. And they end up doing it for free. And he's like, how do you have this knack of understanding that this person is going to maybe not charge us any money and become a partner? I said, you just have to push. I mean, the
Hmm.
only thing that you have to do is push, and you never know which door is you are opening. You have no idea. And this has happened all through my career. I
Hmm.
was like what 20, 21, maybe 20 when I went and did my first meeting with a regional manager of a kidsy. I wanted to do it in
Hmm.
all their schools, right? All the Montessori's. And she's like, you are a kid. You were talking that
Hmm.
you'll do it in 100 schools. What are you talking about? Are you mad? And I was like very pissed. She sent me home. Like she said, what are you? Are you mad? And
Hmm.
her assistant in the morning, next morning calls up and says, ma'am has said you do it, no problem.
Did you
So
end up
basically,
doing it then?
we ended up doing it.
Yeah.
So people will so they'll test your resilience.
Hmm.
Are you do you know your shit together, or are you losing it when they're pushing you? So I mean that's been the case. I mean, as
Interesting.
you say, you message everybody. I don't know who have I not messaged. Even I
Yeah.
believe I've messaged everybody.
It's fun to send out cold emails, right? Because at the end you clearly have
100%.
nothing to lose. Because
100%.
kya hi matlab? You're
And
sending it to
especially
so many
when you
folks.
if you have that tool where you get to know whether they've read the message or not.
Yeah, I think Foxbound did it like back in the day.
Yeah,
I've kind of
I think I have
hmm,
something, I think mail sent or something which kind of shows whether the message
mail
is.
sent.
I don't exactly know the name of my Jatin had put it on my, so I still have it. If there are two ticks on the mail, that
Hmm.
mail has been opened and you get a notification of what time it is.
Very interesting. I think that's usually how like all the email marketing tools work. 'Cause we've used Bravo for the memos, and
Correct.
it's like I realize why people spam emails. Like why every company sort of spams emails to their users. Like it's just you get so much data.
Correct.
Like I got like the average amount of time they spent on the email, the open rate, which is great. And if you just use a normal email, it doesn't work. So that's that.
Correct.
Okay, let's get to FintApp, right? So what's the story of FintApp? Why do you start it? What's the
We
scene
started.
currently?
So we started it, as I told you when we were having a small discussion, we wanted to become a better version of FamPay and build something in that space where teenagers have a debit card and they can do transactions online, they can do a multiple things online, right? We built the entire infrastructure and then we realized the costs were going to be too high, the margins were going to be too low, we were
Hmm.
still in a regulatory gray area, things could go wrong. And that is when we decided let's not launch it, because
Hmm.
by then Akudu has also come into play and a few more players had come into play, right? And then we said, "Ki, let's work on digital gold. Let's try to do something in the space of digital gold." That's when we kind of launched digital gold, but we then saw everybody launching digital gold.
Yeah.
Let's So then we thought, let's work in the reward sector, and let's try to build it in UPI. So
Hmm.
what we are building right now isn't the concrete version of what we want to build. Right?
Yeah.
It's just a very nascent stage of something being born. We want
Hmm.
to go in that direction. This is the current model that we have where people purchase gift cards using UPI on the platform and they get rewarded. So this is the current feature that we have, right? We
Interesting.
want to create a features where people who use UPI more are rewarded. So now credit
Very
is
interesting.
introduced on UPI, right? We're looking at
Hmm.
moving in that direction as well. There are going to be a lot of things that are going to come in UPI, and we're waiting for that moment, where we are also thinking of building a couple of more tools, people who are salaried, for
Hmm.
them to have access on UPI. So so these are things that we are heading towards, and I think just to put in numbers, we have about 6,000 organic users, zero referrals, zero money spent on marketing. We about,
Hmm.
people have purchased 1.5 crores worth of gift cards from our platform over the course of five
Hmm.
six months, right, since
Hmm.
we've launched this part of the product. I mean, the company is 2.5 years old, but we kind of
Hmm.
pivoted, we did a lot of things, we've got a couple of grants from the government as well. But now, when we start looking back at it, we know what we want to build, where we want to build, which sector we want to build, and we want to build habits around, savings, habits around spending,
Yeah.
rewards, and all of that for a younger generation, which is into college. And
Hmm.
there is this problem with us in India is Indians have a very delayed understanding of financial literacy. It's
Interesting.
a literate country. The literacy rate in India is 77% roughly now, right?
Hmm.
But the financial literacy rate in India is 27%, and
Hmm.
that primarily
Interesting.
comes from a very delayed understanding of finances. So before somebody understands debt, they already have it in their hand, and that's a big problem for a population, right?
Hmm.
So so a college student doesn't understand debt, but he has debt in his hand, right? So
Yeah.
so the point is, are we teaching kids more of finances? No, and the government wants understanding. So see, we wanted to give them access to rewards, so they don't go looking out for credit cards to get those rewards initially.
Interesting.
Because it's kind of and they don't get credit cards is one question. They get credit cards, they are very initial users, they go overboard about it, and then it just a credit card isn't it's somebody put it right to me. He said it's just a delayed payment for 1 month. That's what it
Yeah.
is. That's it, nothing else. Zero. The money is still there. It's just 1 month you are delaying your payment. End of story. Nothing else is happening on it. and nobody understands debt, right? And then you
Hmm.
have these debt instruments in your hand, you have access to a ton of them, and it's very delayed. It's only when a child starts earning is when he understands finances.
Hmm.
And the problem is we start earning very late. So
Yeah.
if you look at a lot of developed countries, they are there at, as the child turns adult, 16, 17, they're still earning, right?
Yeah.
16, 17, they start earning, start doing odd jobs, to understand life more, to understand, what is best for them, what they can do, let experiment a little more. We do it the other way. We try to learn from something and then, try to see what we are good at or what we feel about it, and then the money rolls
Hmm.
in. So we don't have access to money apart from the money. The money that you earn is very different than the money that your parents give you. They
Hmm.
might be the same notes, right? The same
Yeah. Yeah.
currency. But the difference, the psychological difference is humongous. You have absolutely, I've become old now. I have absolute idea of how different both of them are. And
Hmm.
and the one that you earn, that gives you a sense of responsibility, that
Mm-hmm.
gives you a sense of financial understanding, that gives you so much more than the one that you have from your parents, right? It is actually somebody
Interesting.
else's money. It is
Hmm.
somebody else's money. It is
Makes
not your
sense.
money.
Yeah.
So you don't feel it that way. And that's a financial, delay of financial understanding. And that's partly a problem in India, and still a persistent problem in India, because children are still not doing odd jobs, right? Or
Yeah.
I'll not say children exactly. Adults are still not doing odd jobs. Adults are still not trying to understand, people are doing odd jobs if they have some financial trouble at their house, right? They're
Hmm.
not doing it to understand, to actually do something productive, to do because they want to learn. That's very small amount of the society that we have. They actually want to do something because they want to learn, right?
Interesting.
And that's kind of, the quicker you learn, the better it is for you. So we want to work in that sector. We're still figuring it out. I think it's a long road ahead for us, but
Mm-hmm.
nonetheless, I think we're making inroads. We're talking to a lot of VCs right now. We've applied for, I think, 4 times to YC. Have been rejected all time, but I think
Mm-hmm.
we keep applying. So every year we keep applying. Every 6 months we keep applying.
Yeah.
We don't give up. We keep applying to all. So we randomly sit and fill every form that is available to us, that in some way is going to help us.
Help. Yeah.
So I
Makes
mean,
sense. Mm-hmm.
AWS credits, name it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe something for free, something or the other. We just filling it left, down, right, left, center. We're just filling it, right, and we are making it to the finals of lots, and it's kind of giving a lot of push as well. It's
Hmm.
giving a lot of understanding of the ecosystem, meeting tons of people. They meet you, then they go ahead and meet people who know you, so you kind of build that trust around, that ecosystem. So
Interesting.
so 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 it's been a tough journey. I will not say it's
Mm-hmm.
easy. Not that, you come out with an idea, and a startup isn't as easy as
Yeah.
it looks in some of the other, TV shows,
Mm-hmm.
right? That,
Makes sense.
okay, this is, and it also not as easy as it looks in, when you listen to news of valuations, right? Those are
Yeah.
just exceptions, right? Let's say
For
also
sure.
accept this fact that
I think Shark Tank has done more bad than good, at least in terms of the way people perceive startups, at least in India.
yeah,
Because
I
I
think
think it's just a game of, at least for everybody, people just think it's a game of vanity metrics, right? Because they're
correct.
like, okay, this it's not valuation, whatnot. But I think it's really much more than that. That people
Correct,
fail to
100%.
realize.
I think people who are in the ecosystem know how difficult it
Hmm.
is. I mean,
For
and
sure.
since we know if somebody is raising, we know the effort that person might have put behind that raise. I mean, it's not that VCs have a lot of tons of money and you're just putting an idea forward, and and now with the funding winter has
Hmm.
become even more difficult, where,
For
they're
sure.
looking at it, more of, metrics which are economic, unit economics, more of unit economics, and your sustainability, your profitability, and all of that. They're not looking for growth what they were looking like a couple of years ago.
For sure.
They're just
Because
looking for,
I've
growth.
barely seen like a pre-revenue funding news in the past few months. Because earlier, I
No,
think,
no, you will either see a
yeah,
beta phase,
yeah, yeah,
you will not hear any,
pre-revenue, right?
if if the entrepreneur is serial
Very well known.
entrepreneur,
Yeah,
big
yeah, yeah.
entrepreneur, then obviously you will listen to the
Makes sense.
pretty
Interesting. So a
something.
couple of questions from that, right? So firstly, when does, as a founder, you need to know you have to pivot? Like when do you take that call? Like what are certain things you have to keep in mind before pivoting? Okay, this is the right decision.
I I think for us it's been trying to understand our costs. So if our costs don't match, if we can't survive, so limping is better than dying
Yeah.
at the start, right? And that's when we decide. So if we see this is going to put us to our deathbed, and an entrepreneur knows in their mind whether this is going to put you in the deathbed or not, right? Because they have access to all the data that they have, right?
For
We
sure.
will try to figure out different methods to create a different angle of distribution, and if even if that doesn't work out, right, it's time for us to pivot. And that's how we have decided, that we saw the infrastructure cost was too high, there were too many players now coming in, they were flooding in the market. I think it was time for us to stop, so we then shifted to, and that market got flooded. So we then thought, let's do something that nobody else is doing, and let's try to be on that track only. So it can be a little difficult. People will not trust us. People say, digital gold, why digital gold? Give it
Yeah.
back to them. Then if you give it back to them, you'll say, why you give it to back? This is nothing. So, 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 and people have told us this. I think the reason why we give them digital gold is we want them to understand savings. If they keep it as digital gold and it grows over a period of time, they will understand it, right?
For
It
sure.
is small psychological things that we are doing. It's not you can't change the world in immediate day. I want the literacy rate to be higher. I want college students to know about savings. No, it doesn't work like that. You
For
give
sure.
them small steps and then they learn from that, and then they take it in their stride, and then over a period of time you have a more smarter generation, right? You have a generation which is more financially literate, and they have more better capabilities of finances on them. They can handle money better,
Yeah.
and if everybody ends up handling money better, we'll end up becoming a better nation as well. So I think small steps, but I think as you asked the question, pivot. I think if you can limp uh, and not die, so it's okay. You can keep continuing in that path. But if you know you're gonna die, I think it's better to just kind of pivot and look at other things that you can do. I mean, rather than being
Makes sense.
stubborn, you have to be resilient. So you're just pivoting. You are not, doing something that's completely,
You're not
different.
giving
You
up
still,
basically.
you're
Yeah,
still
yeah.
an entrepreneur, right? You are
Makes
still an
sense.
entrepreneur. Even if you pivot, you're still an entrepreneur. If you pivot twice, you're still an entrepreneur. If you pivot 100 times, you're still an entrepreneur. You are still not giving up on the dreams that you're seeing. Just to say, I've seen this one dream, I want to make it happen. Uh, that works, but it works for 1 out of a million
You need
people,
to be very lucky
something
for
like that.
that. Yeah.
You have to be very lucky. You have to be right place, right time. A lot of things. Skype was before Zoom, right? But Zoom took it over. So
I'm
there
doing
are
it all.
multiple. Orkut was there before Facebook, but Orkut didn't know when to stop. But people liked it or not. So if you don't learn from your customers, then I think if your
You'll end up
customers are
losing.
wanting
Yeah.
something else, yeah. So let's take for example, you go to a Moody wala only.
To
He
a?
has 10 customers. A Moody wala. Basically, Moody is puffed rice.
Okay, okay, okay. That's
Bhel
called
Moody. Bhel
kurmura,
Moody.
like in, I think, normal Hindi. Yeah.
In Bengali, it's called Moody. So
Yeah.
so so if you go to a person who's selling, masala puffed rice or whatever, okay, every customer has a different preference,
Yeah.
right? He's
Makes
not
sense.
saying, this is what I made, you eat it. That happens at a restaurant. The
Yes.
Kurmura guy is a startup guy, right?
Makes sense. Like a
A
couple of different
restaurant is a
flavors to
business.
cater to different folks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
restaurant is a business.
For
But a
sure.
street guy is more of a startup guy because he is catering to customers and catering it to their preferences, right?
Yeah, there's
He's
more room
thinking
to like
more,
adapt, no?
yeah, he's
Whereas in
thinking more
respect
about
to
the
others.
customers. And a startup, if you think more about the customer and think, pivot and my customers will stay with me, then I think the pivot is the best option. I mean, and
For
if you
sure.
think that the customer is not understanding your product and not pivoting is a better option, they will eventually understand your product. Then not
Yeah.
pivoting is the best option. I mean,
Makes
it
sense.
it, it, it boils down whether the entrepreneur believes in the right. If the entrepreneur thinks, no, I let me think like my customer. If I was my customer, I would have done this. Then is the right time to pivot.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, like what are certain things that, like, as a fintech founder, you need to keep in mind while building in India, considering all the regulations and whatnot? What are certain things you have to always make sure before building a product or selecting an idea? What are those things?
So a lot of regulations are there. KYC is definitely there in India and all
Hmm.
of that, right? So if you're building a product which requires KYC, your costs are going to be higher. So you'll have to, because now we are in such a space that people aren't funding for growth, right? So if you end up losing money, nobody's going to come and fund you because they will say that this bank can do that, that bank can do that, this bank can do that. So as a fintech founder, you'll have to understand how do I keep my costs low, right? As low as I can keep them, right? Initially, I'll not be profitable. I know that. Even the people I'm pitching to know that because this is a fintech company, it's difficult to for a B2C fintech company to be profitable initially. But as a fintech founder, your first job is how do I keep my costs low? Because my margins are thin. Right? In finance, tell me something my margins are high. None. Everything the margins will be
Yeah,
less.
makes sense. I
If
think
you look at
every finance company.
everything is working on volumes, right? If
Yeah.
you are a bank, you're charging 1,000 rupees for non-maintenance of balance is a different thing. Your margins are
Oh,
high.
that's different. Hmm.
Yeah.
Makes
But
sense.
if you're a brokerage company also, if you're a zero dha, anything you
Yeah,
are,
I'm
right?
charging 20
Your
or
mar-
something for like every
your
transaction.
margins are
Yeah.
high. You're working on
Hmm.
volume. So whether you can work on volume, number one, and if you can keep your costs low. If you can work on volume and keep your costs low and you cater to a big, you know, if you are a B2C, right? B2B, the different case altogether. If you're a B2B, costs low and in terms of regulations, you'll have to be aware, are you under this regulation? Uh, are you doing something in the stock market segment where SEBI has some sort of regulation on you? Can you do this? There was a big showdown between SEBI and the influencers, right?
Yeah.
Finance influencers. So SEBI
What do you think about
regulates
that?
that. I think it's a tough call to take.
Hmm.
India is a very big market.
Yeah.
It's difficult to contain at times. It's like a rowdy gang of people. If you don't contain them, they will spread like wildfire. So there are certain things that the government has to do sometimes not willingly but in the interest of people. It's not that the government wants to stop something, right? So if the government wants to stop crypto for some reason, there is something that's going wrong and they want to safeguard the interest of the country or the interest of the people. Sometimes we think the government is doing it for their benefit. It doesn't work like that. It works on data for them as well, right? It doesn't work only on what the people in power think. It doesn't work like that. It works on how the data kind of works out. If too many people are losing money because of something, right, or scams or whatever, and some people are making money out of it, for the interest of the larger population, that will be closed down. You can't help with it. So I mean, you will just have to be and regulations work like that. So you will have regulations for not being fraud. They stop stopping fraud, and that regulation will come on to everybody. So there will be one
Hmm.
rowdy guy who will be drinking beer in
Yeah.
the society
Huh.
on the terrace, right? But the
Hmm.
terrace has to be closed for everybody now.
Makes sense. I think for the greater good, I mean, certain things are the way.
Yeah,
That's interesting, and that's sort of limiting if you think about it, like
correct.
in the bigger picture. But I think certain things. This is what Amal was said, right? So in order for any, let's say, new technology to be mass adopted, regardless of the scams, the way to do it is to keep it alive for as long as you can, and that's
Correct.
essentially how UPI sort of became what it is. I mean, there's a lot of scope for growth, but ideally that's how it became great. And if you remember, there were a lot of scams about UPI as well.
100%
Like,
still happening.
yeah, it's like the
So
most basic one is,
when we were
yeah.
selling digital gold, right? We
Hmm.
used to get these UPI requests from different UPI IDs.
Hmm.
Basically, people were scamming people to buy digital gold from our application and then selling off the digital gold and taking away the cash. Which
Interesting.
happened on our
Interesting.
platform, is still happening. So, and we had to stop, people entering UPI ID. So you can
Hmm.
just click and go to your Google Pay. You cannot enter a UPI ID to take the money from.
Interesting. This is something similar to how the Bitcoin address scam used to work. Do you remember that? Like,
Yeah,
there was like a bug in which you just there was someone
correct,
else's address code and that got pasted instead of yours.
Correct.
and so many people lost their money to it. And it's such a simple way to scam people. And people, I mean,
100%.
obviously, like, you don't remember anyone's wallet address, right? I mean, by the looks of it, people just like copy paste. Whereas if something
Correct.
like this similar can disrupt the system, or sort of disrupt the way people trust the system, I mean, it's a problem. And
Correct.
ideally, in that
And
case, yeah.
as long as there are digital payment scams would keep happening.
Hmm.
Credit cards are have been here for a long period of time. But credit card scams don't keep stopping, right? They keep happening. So I think, kind of now uh, you can't stop it. That's
Yeah.
number one, right? You can
Interesting.
just limit it. So it'll keep happening with a lot of people. Scams will keep
Mm-hmm.
happening, and that's we've kind of thought about it, and you know the government's thought about it. You can't stop everything from happening. Scams will keep happening. There'll be bad people in the society. You can't stop from that from happening. But UPI has gone a long way.
For sure.
Uh, uh, I made transactions in Singapore using UPI,
Hmm.
and it happened. It went through. I tried it 10 merchants. I think three of them got through, and seven of them didn't go through.
Interesting.
And now it's going to happen in a lot of other countries. So your Indian UPI is going to be accepted in
Very, very well.
France,
Hmm.
in Dubai. So so UPI has a very bright future, and that's primarily why we want to build in that sector.
Very interesting. What are certain like metrics, certain observations you've seen while looking at the back end of your product, like the way people save money, like what demographic saves the most, like what are certain gift cards people are purchasing more, like
So
where
the
are
maximum
people?
gift card people
Yeah.
purchase is Amazon.
Hmm.
So Amazon is doing great in India. So they have the least discounts on Amazon, but they purchase Amazon like crazy. Amazon and Flipkart are top selling gift
Hmm.
cards. You have Myntra, you have Nykaa following that, you have Zomato, you have Swiggy, you
Hmm.
have Blinkit. But people are purchasing a lot of Amazon
Hmm.
and a lot of Flipkarts. So, and
Interesting.
because obviously because a lot of products available, right? And you get some sort of additional discount that helps. So that kind of that's the data that we've got, right?
Like
And
what
we've
demographic saves the most? Like who are the folks who end up looking for the
so
gift
from the
cards
age
more?
group of if I'm giving you the age group, I'm giving you an age group of from 22 to 33, 33 or 34 is what is kind of now uh, spending the most. And an average person is spending 2,700, 2,500 rupees easily on the platform. That's an average value, I'm saying. That is with, a
Interesting.
lot of people actually spending 50,000 rupees in gift cards a month from multiple
That's
channels.
huh. What do
One
you think is
user.
that? Like fifty
So,
thousand?
yeah, because so he has, he's ordering for his family maybe. He's paying the
Yeah.
bill for his family, right? So he's
Hmm.
taking it up for this saying do it on cash on delivery, he's saying the extra discount. People do this.
Hmm.
A reason why Flipkart still has bill payment systems integrated in it is a lot of tier two students or tier two people actually give their children money and tell them, go pay it, uh, uh, pay the bill. And
Hmm.
these children or teenagers, right? They put it in their accounts or in their UPI IDs and they pay it on Flipkart and get some sort of discount from that.
Makes sense.
And then they keep it to themselves.
That's crazy. Okay, let's talk about who FinTap is actually for. Like, what is the very specific target audience you're looking at, and like, was that the same target group you were looking at before pivoting?
So before pivoting, we were looking at more of teenagers, so high school,
Hmm.
13-year-olds to like 25-year-olds. But now we're looking more at, college students and young professionals. So we're looking
Hmm.
at, 18-year-olds to 30-year-olds. That is what we're looking at. We're looking more at it from a college perspective. We want college users to have,
Hmm.
because those are going to be, if I'm going to add other products to my application, those are going to be my future users as well, right? So thinking in terms of the future, if my journey starts with somebody at 18 years old, he's going to stay for me for a longer period of time. That is how there was Holics, right? GSK used a mechanism where they wanted to kind of eliminate the idea that Horlicks is a drink for people who get unwell. So
Hmm.
when we were kids, if somebody fell unwell, people used to buy a Horlicks ka packet from the pharmacy and give it to that guy, right? So they wanted to promote it like a Bonvita or a Complan for children. So they started targeting they started targeting all their marketing money into school activations, right? And into college activations to change the entire narrative. Over a period of 10, 12 years, they changed the entire narrative from, a drink of unhealthy people to a drink of people who, to a drink for, children who are stronger, sharper, and smarter. So it
Interesting.
takes time to change the narrative, right?
Very
And
interesting.
over a period of time, it's going to take. So for us also, we realize that over a period of time, this narrative is going to come into play, and college students are going to understand, saving and all of that. If we give them a more interactive application, we give them an application with user interface is more directed towards them,
Hmm.
right?
Makes sense.
Everybody like cred appeals to the millennials more right
Yeah, to
now.
the old guys. Yeah.
All the old guys, minimalistic, they are in that segment. So everybody is in a psychological segment in their life,
Hmm.
right?
Makes
Uh,
sense.
it will not
That's
appeal to somebody else who is a little different. So that kind
that's
of,
true.
that is where we are kind of headed. We want to target
Hmm.
college students and young professionals.
Very interesting. So, how do you build a team exactly for building? Like, what was your process of building? As you said, like your co-founder was like your co-worker at Tag Mango. But
Yeah.
how do you scale the team well? Like, what's the ideal way to hire in the initial phases of the startup? Because money is tight. So, how do you make sure that this person is someone okay will definitely be a plus point for a company? Like, what's your way to do it?
You sell them the dream. You actually sell them the dream. You
Interesting.
you you have, if you believe in that dream, you give them your dream, and if they believe on you, they don't think money matters. And I don't think
Hmm.
none of my team members have seen it like that way. We've actually told them what we dream about, and we know we can't give you so much money, and we don't have it. We're doing it from our pockets only. Maybe we might get funded, we might not get funded. If we get funded, good for you. You will be with us. We want you for a longer period of time, and that's it's been a difficult thing to build a team and keep them, but we're grateful that
Hmm.
we have a team that's stuck with us. uh, they've seen some big hurdles with us as well, you know and they primarily don't work for you know uh, I don't feel my team works for money.
Interesting. Very
I don't
interesting.
feel my team, they still work for the dream that
For
we
the
have.
dream.
Yeah, they believe that this is going to work. And you know we have a very deep understanding in terms of how we work. I mean, there are
Hmm.
no regulations in terms of timing. There is particular deadlines that they have to attain
Yeah.
that needs to get the work done, and then we have the work over a period of time that's done. We say we want it by Saturday, so everybody jumps in and does it by completes it by
Hmm.
Saturday. So we've been flexible with our team, and our team's been great. So I think the key is, what's your take on what's your culture? Is your
Hmm.
culture benefiting that person? Is that culture making that person happier? Is he feeling better? Is he feeling energetic? Is he feeling you know that these guys are lifting my spirits? Is he feeling
Hmm.
I have a certain problem, they're understanding it?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, these are people who have emotions which is above
Hmm.
money, and if we are able to
Interesting.
feed those emotions, I think money becomes secondary at a point of time for them. That's how some friends are able to kind of give you all, मैं तुम्हारे लिए जान दे दूंगा. That's
Makes
how it
sense.
happens, na?
Makes
Because
sense.
emotionally you are understanding
Hmm.
that person are understanding your situation. Only it happens. It's a two-way thing, right?
Very, very interesting. So, have you ever had were you ever in an unfortunate situation in order to fire somebody in your team? How was that like?
No, thankfully, there's been just a couple of uh, incidences, right?
Huh.
But it's not,
What's your ideal way to fire then?
no, we just tell them, you're not performing.
Hmm.
We want you to be more active. We want this out of you. अच्छा ये नहीं हो पा रहे हैं, just do this. When we see there is a constant drop, and when we feel
Hmm.
that, because we can't keep an eye on them because we're working remotely, right? When we feel that now this person is not at all working, I mean, he's just taking us, obviously we can understand
Right.
situation.
Huh.
You can
Hmm.
go through a depression, you can go through a breakup, and we have young people. and for them a breakup is a big thing, right? And we
Hmm.
can understand it. We totally get it. It will be 2 months of but if it just and you it just shows up, in your work.
Hmm.
If you're not working, it just kind of shows up, and then we tell them ki, you can do this, you can do that, maybe we can do a change of roles. And then
Hmm.
then we say ki, you have to understand, we cannot do it. We'll still give them some time. We don't outright fire them, per se, you can't work from tomorrow, or you can't do
Hmm.
this, because everything that somebody does it under circumstances, right?
Makes
Since
sense.
I am
Yeah.
not in that circumstance, I'm no one to judge it. So
Very interesting.
we try to be very empathetic when somebody is going through something. It could be mental health, it could be tons of issues. You know,
Hmm.
if the person is doing something, he's still doing it under some circumstances, and that needs to be addressed as well.
Very interesting. So what's the so this is a very cliche way to end the podcast, but I think this is what everybody sort of comes to hear, right? Like people who are aspiring builders, aspiring founders. What are three pieces of advice you'd give to people who want to build their startup in the coming future? Like it
So I
sounds
think
very cliche, but it's something
I
people
think
sort of
I'm
look
not
for.
capable to answer that question, but I'll give you three that
Huh.
I believe for myself.
Hmm.
Number one is not giving up.
Hmm.
Number two is knocking everybody's door,
Hmm.
right? Number three is taking in criticism nicely and being
Interesting.
happy about it and
Hmm.
learning from it. That's just three things that I think as a builder, as a founder, I do. And I think no door is too big to not knock, right? As we had a discussion earlier as well,
Yeah.
right? You can cold email anybody, right? You can even cold email the president of America if you find the secretary's email, or find the email of the secretary's secretary,
Yeah.
right? You can email anybody. You have access to
Mm-hmm.
everybody's, like you can
Makes
go
sense.
through somebody, right? And you
Hmm.
can do, if you don't go to, you have some other way to go through. You will end up there if you want to end up. So that's just three advices I want. And being resilient, obviously. Perseverance is the only thing as a founder actually has. And if we
Hmm.
can't persevere, harsh waters, it's the explorers of the world. So just imagine 200 years ago, people in wooden boats without navigational tools, without being known where they actually are,
Yeah.
were trying to figure out places, right?
Hmm.
That's what entrepreneurs are doing. They're in harsh waters, and your team is like a wooden boat right now,
What about?
because
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because you don't have so much infrastructure with you. You have these amazing tools with you, and you are explorers. So perseverance is the only thing. Either you will drown or you will reach somewhere.
Really
And if
somewhere.
you drown, you can still survive. So if you drown and you survive, it's only on you. So
Very
giving up
interesting.
is not really an option.
Yeah. Abadur, it's been a great time.
It's been a
I
pleasure. I
hope it's
mean,
like,
2 hours has just gone by,
yeah,
and
exactly. I didn't think it'll. So the thing is like, usually the podcast did not go this long because I think this was the first time on the show in which we were talking for 30 minutes before the podcast. Because usually
yeah,
it's like a 15, 20 minutes
yeah,
sort of
yeah,
thing to sort of
yeah.
break the ice, but it went on for like 30 minutes.
Interesting
And
conversations.
yeah,
So
it's
from
been
your
fun.
side,
Okay, I'll end the recording, but don't
yeah.
go just yet. 1 second. Yeah.